this whole situation that has been going on with Harbaugh to the NFL, and now for the last couple of weeks, is Harbaugh going to go to the NFL this year? This whole situation was because, according to this, and it starts to make sense with what we've been hearing in the media, in from not insider sources. It's kind of fitting together. That Ward Manuel is basically just doing this literally to look like the good guy and make Jim Harbaugh look like the bad guy.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Michigan Chatter on the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. I am your host, Cliff. With me, as always, is Mac. Mac, how you doing?
I'm good. I feel like Charlie Day in that Always Sunny meme, just like connecting all the dots for this one because we're going over a conspiracy. It's going to be crazy, man.
All those mathematical equations going on in your head and all that.
It's all over the place.
We are talking about tonight the breaking information that Michigan Nation posted on X today, having to do with Jim Harbaugh not having a contract and going off and interviewing with the Los Angeles Chargers. Whole bunch of weird things going on right now. And we need to talk about it. It's just what we do here. We got to talk about these things and try to figure out what's going on. So we're going to walk through some tweets from Michigan Nation and see if we can fill in some gaps and maybe get some speculation as far as what we think is really going on with Jim Harbaugh and his contract. Because, frankly, neither of us want him to go to the NFL. We want him to stay at Michigan, I presume. Right, Mac? All right.
Oh, obviously.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you for subscribing. We hit 500 subscribers, and that is fantastic. And we thank all of you for that. We're just here to have fun talking football, and we love having all of you guys here talking football with us, getting all kinds of comments, and that's a lot of fun. All right, here, let's dig in. So the first tweet, this is a series of tweets from Michigan Nation 2. As far as we know, Michigan Nation 2 is a good source.
Yeah, I know, we should probably, I just run it really quick, wanted to offer this as a preamble, a thing that you say before you say something that might not be. Disclaimer, thank you. We are not journalists. For the love of all that is good and righteous, we are not journalists. Okay, we don't have sources. This guy does have sources, though. And I have seen other people corroborate what Michigan Nation has said. I believe Steve Dace has said that Stahlbaum's and Michigan Nation are both people with inside sources at Michigan. So what he's saying, what Michigan Nation here is laying out, is stuff based on his sources. And we, as commentators, cannot accept responsibility for anything that he says that might not be true. Please continue.
See, the reason we do this is because it used to be when Max still lived at home, we would read articles from the Detroit Free Press about Michigan and talk about it. So this is kind of, now that Mac isn't at home anymore, he's living in an entirely different location. We have to find other ways to talk about this stuff. And this was a way we thought, hey, let's do this on YouTube. We're going to do this anyway.
That's fair.
Okay, let's get into this. Breaking. After talking to multiple sources, including those very close to Jim Harbaugh, we may have a major issue on our hands. Major issue being, will Harbaugh stay at Michigan? Some within Jim's circle and possibly Jim himself believe that Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel wouldn't mind wanting Jim Harbaugh gone. Many say he is grandstanding. Keep this in mind as he is interviewing for the Chargers. I will have more on this situation at 3 p.m., and we actually have more on that situation. To fill in there, Jim Harbaugh did have an interview with the Chargers. We know that. That's confirmed. The Chargers actually posted on their Twitter, "We have had our interview with Jim Harbaugh." And a lot of people were freaking out about that, but as I understand that, for some reason, the LA Chargers post every time they have an interview.
It's really weird. I've never seen that. But
it doesn't mean anything. They haven't hired everybody they've posted about, but they post that they did that.
They're just trying to freak everybody out.
Right. Also, I don't know if any of you have seen the tweets too, that there's a lot of people calling for Ward Manuel to be fired. Because what we understand is there is actually a contract. Oh, I'm probably jumping the gun here. Should I just go to the next one?
Yeah, just go to tweet 2, because that's where it really starts to get juicy.
All right, so here we go on to tweet 2. Per sources, many believe and some have confirmed that Ward Manuel is the leak from Michigan.
So
That
wait a minute.
that's pretty
Actually,
key.
does that was he the leak for the sign stealing or the leak for the the new contract or
I think it's the new contract. In the immediate
okay.
context here, I think we're talking about a few days ago when they said they had the $120 million contract. That apparently here
Yeah.
is there was no $120 million contract offer. In fact, Jim doesn't even have a contract to sign, which means Ward Manuel, if he was the one leaking it, he was using that as leverage against Harbaugh to get him to do something, which
He
I mean,
okay.
that's pretty underhanded given that, I mean, you work
Yeah.
together and he's going to Twitter to, manipulate him basically.
Well, so if that's true, if Ward was just leaking that there was a contract even though there wasn't, if Jim goes to the NFL, then all that's going to do is make Ward look like, well, I tried, and that's going to
Right.
save his skin with the fan base and potentially President Ono as long as Ono doesn't look into it.
Right. Which, I mean, he has to know about it now.
You well, yeah, maybe. But okay, that's really intriguing. But I guess I yeah, all right, anyway.
All right. So he goes on. This was also insinuated by Jim himself earlier in the year in a press conference. Furthermore, Ward and Jim Stapleton, who's the one that works at the NCAA, are very good friends. He provides Stapleton with a lot of information. So yeah, it's entirely possible that Ward was the leak to the NCAA.
So Stapleton also, I believe, works for the compliance. Okay, so he works at the NCAA Infractions Committee, and according to John Bacon, this is a direct quote. Stapleton got himself onto the NCAA Infractions Committee, and he hates Jim Harbaugh. So that's a direct quote from John Bacon, and I absolutely trust John Bacon. He is a
Yeah.
fantastic writer. But now, okay, so with this tweet in mind, here's what he says next. Quote again, John Bacon.
Mm.
If Michigan did it, they'll still pay a price. That's not the point. You can't kill the messenger. But as far as the leaking goes, I would guarantee you that's where it's coming from, implying Stapleton.
Okay.
So because Stapleton is a former Michigan alum, he is also, I believe, part owner of the Minnesota Vikings. And I believe that came into play when Michigan was, or Jim Harbaugh was interviewing with the Minnesota Vikings after last season, and that never ended up actually happening. So this could be a thing that's been happening for a few years now because that's every
Yep.
single year the Harbaugh to the NFL rumors start back up, and yeah, so that's okay.
Right. All right. So he provides Stapleton with a lot of information. Stapleton works for the NCAA. When Jim confronted Ward about it and asked what Stapleton had against him, Ward said they were good friends and shrugged it off. A lot of folks have stories to tell about Stapleton, and they aren't that pretty. So you've got Ward Manuel and Jim Stapleton working together. Now, what was it you wanted to say before our internet went wacky?
So I was gonna say I don't like that last line because that sounds really subjective, and there's not much that he can do to corroborate that without giving direct quotes and attribution. But it
Right.
is interesting that like okay, so if Harbaugh confronts Ward Manuel about it and asks what Stapleton has against him, Ward's response actually feels very much like it came from someone who was put on the spot unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Because like if somebody confronts you about something and you know you're guilty of it, what are you going to do? Like, don't worry about it. It's whatever.
Right.
So I mean, if that's true that happened, then that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. It looks more and more like Ward Manuel and Jim Stapleton are in it to get Harbaugh out of there. And it doesn't make a lot of sense given that if it started back in 2020, that might make more sense. But still, I mean, it's awfully underhanded. I mean,
There's
he doesn't. I guess he doesn't even have to do that. I mean, Ward Manuel and Santa Ono could get together and say, Harbaugh's performance just isn't there. But he's
well,
going around to the NCAA and trying to manufacture stuff.
but they literally, I mean, they wouldn't be able to fire Jim Harbaugh for performance issues. The guy just won a natty.
But back in
I mean,
2020,
oh,
when
well, yeah,
when
okay.
everything was falling apart.
So that actually, I've got another tweet that actually kind of speaks to that. Um, so this is also from Michigan Nation. So I just real quick, I'll just say this.
All right.
So this is according to Michigan Nation, per sources very close to Jim Harbaugh, back in 2020 during the COVID year, then President Mark Schlissel, who notably got fired for sexting a girl about pizza.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Jeez.
Oh, Schlissel. A few regions and many fans obviously wanted Harbaugh gone because 2020 sucked.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh was having to fight Mark Schlissel just to have a season in the first place, which caused many issues between them. And Ward Manuel didn't have his back during that. So Harbaugh was fighting just to be able to field a team and couldn't fully focus on winning, which also kind of explains why Michigan was so bizarrely bad that year.
Mhm.
Ward Manuel was then given permission to fire Harbaugh, but he didn't. However, Ward wasn't actually even fully supportive of Jim Harbaugh. He was actually just taking advantage of the situation because he knew that no other coach was as good or better than Harbaugh and would be willing to come to Michigan at the same price that Harbaugh would. So he cut Jim's salary in half, Jim Harbaugh's salary in half. This was the huge contract negotiation that happened where they restructured his contract and
Right.
gave him a lot
What
less.
saved his job. Yeah.
Yeah, so he cut the salary in half, cut his buyout significantly, and basically told him you either win next year or you're fired. He also then told Jim Harbaugh to explore NFL coaching positions. Ward Manuel in
Told him. Yeah.
2020, according to this tweet, told Harbaugh to explore the NFL. Unfortunately for Jim, the NFL wasn't interested that year. Now Ward is upset that Jim is exploring the NFL. He cares now and doesn't want him to, and the rest is subjective ranting. So and he also said this is all why Harbaugh in his current contract is asking for a panel for arbitration for decision making,
Yeah.
which is another thing that we'll talk about another time. But that's so this started way back in 2020. That was just a
Yeah.
business decision on Ward Manuel's part to get or to cut Jim Harbaugh's contract.
So that puts a whole new spin then on the NFL, the NFL courting Harbaugh every year. Because I mean, if Ward Manuel was saying, "Hey, why don't you just go to the NFL in 2020?" and now every year an NFL team is coming to Harbaugh, and Harbaugh is like, "Yeah, I'll go interview." Ward, I mean, this was you wanted me to do this anyway, so until
Yeah.
we can get this contract going, I'm just going to keep doing what you suggested.
Well, I feel like Harbaugh, yeah, Ward, I feel like Ward
It's almost
Manuel,
like he's throwing it back at him, you know.
yes.
So Ward,
Well,
you wanted this, now I'm doing this. So if you don't want me to keep courting the NFL, then sign the friggin' contract.
or give Jim Harbaugh a
Or
contract,
yeah, give
period.
him
It,
give him the
there is
contract.
no
Yeah.
contract right now, according to this, but that's
Yeah, I guess it's not sign the contract, it's write the contract and give it to me.
yeah. So basically, this whole situation that has been going on with Harbaugh to the NFL, and now for the last couple of weeks, is Harbaugh going to go to the NFL this year? This whole situation was because, according to this, and it starts to make sense with what we've been hearing in the media, in from not insider sources. It's kind of fitting together.
Mhm.
That Ward Manuel is basically just doing this literally to look like the good guy and make Jim Harbaugh look like the bad guy.
Right.
Why?
I don't
What
know.
did Harbaugh do
But
to Manuel other than tell him that he wanted to play in 2020?
like we were talking about today, and I don't know how this happens at other universities, but there is a consistent disconnect between the admin and the AD and the coaching staff. I mean,
Mhm.
perennially at Michigan. I mean, with Rich Rod and was it? Yeah, that was Schlissel, right? Schlissel brought in Rich Rod.
No, that was Engel. That was whoever was before Dave Brandon.
Oh, okay. Am I getting that? I getting that backwards then?
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm not thinking of athletic director. You're talking about school president. That was
either way, the between
yeah, I
the
can't remember.
president and the AD and the coaches, there's always this antagonism. It seems like at Michigan, just
Yeah.
year after year after year. And I'm curious as to whether that happens at other universities. It sounds like, based on what they were saying on Locked On Big Ten today, it sounds like that's going to be a problem at Ohio State this year.
Well,
But
Ohio State's got a whole different problem because they're just upset that they can't beat Michigan, and the new AD is going to come in wondering like, should I make a move?
right,
And then he might just make the move.
but that's immediate antagonism. Well, and then
Yeah.
Michigan State's going to have that problem now, given that Jonathan Smith apparently publicly said, "Oh, I should have waited for the Washington job." I mean, that that doesn't help. That's going to cause
No,
some animosity between the coach and the AD and the president.
but let's go to this third tweet because
All
this
right.
is really interesting.
Okay. So, per sources, Jim wants to be at Michigan and terms are pretty much done. However, he doesn't have something to sign yet. Okay. That's what we were just talking
There you
about.
go. Yep.
This isn't the first time Ward has dropped the ball and been slow. Actually, he's, who else did he lose? Beeline. Ward lost
Beeline.
Beeline,
Yeah.
right? This
Yeah.
isn't the first time Ward has dropped the ball and been slow. An NIL collective supported by Jim Harbaugh was shot down by Ward because he didn't want donors giving to the athletic department to start giving to NIL. Okay, so again, well, okay, which set which has set Michigan back significantly. We need an AD with forward thinking and someone who can get along with the coaches. So just real quick though, that NIL thing right there, if Ward Manuel has been slow boating the NIL stuff and or not even slow boating, but like putting a stop to it or not letting it get started, again, that confirms or at least lends to the idea that one of the reasons they're after Harbaugh is because he keeps telling them to get the NIL in place.
Well, he keeps telling them to get the NIL in place, and then as far as Jim Stapleton is concerned, Harbaugh is also demanding the NCAA give a portion of their profits to the players too.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So Harbaugh basically represents
The
a
players.
massive, well, yeah, he represents the players, but he also represents a massive loss in profits for both the Michigan athletic department and the NCAA
Yeah.
if the players end up getting paid the way that Harbaugh says that they should be, and frankly, probably the way that they should be.
Right.
Um, I mean, that's a conversation for another time, but
Mhm.
I guess I will defend Ward Manuel a little bit because
How
he's
dare you? No.
I'm okay, all right. He's thinking like a businessman, which is his job.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Right.
he's an athletic director. He's got to think about these things in terms of what's bringing in the money. Football and basketball are the two profit drivers. Those
Right.
are what's bringing in the money. That's paying for literally all of the other sports. So if the football boosters then start giving specifically to NIL collectives, and that takes away from the money that is going to the athletic department, then a lot of other Michigan sports could suffer. Gymnastics. Apparently, they have a dance team. That's pretty cool, I guess. uh, Curling, maybe. I don't know.
Oh,
Do they curl?
don't
Whatever.
interfere
Anyway,
with curling.
don't do that. Don't do
That's
that.
America's sport right there.
Heck yeah, it is. Anyway, but
Fourth
yeah,
slide. Okay, go ahead.
but what I guess what I mean is I kind of understand where Ward Manuel is coming from with that, but there's got to be a way to structure it where if Michigan's athletic department is worried so much about how much money they're getting from boosters, what about all the money they're getting from games, and why isn't that enough to support the athletic department? Is
Right.
the department by itself without boosters not profitable? Because that's not a great way to run a business.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to look into. I know we've heard for decades that it's the football program that basically supports the entire athletic department,
Yeah.
but where that money comes from is as far as if it's ticket sales or merchandising or TV rights and that kind of thing, who knows?
Right. Yeah.
Or boosters.
Mhm.
All right, the last slide. Last slide. The last tweet from Michigan Nation, per sources, President Santaono and most regents know about the situation between Jim and Ward. Okay, so if that's true, then it substantiates the claims that Jim and Ward have a problem with Jim Harbaugh. Jim Stapleton and Ward Manuel have a problem with Harbaugh.
Mhm.
Santaono knows about it. When Ono came out in support of Jim not too long ago with a post stating that Jim was staying and that he informed the AD, the Regents got a little upset at Ono, which is why he has backed off a bit. At this point, it's rumored that Ward Manuel wouldn't mind getting a 3-year payout and then retiring. I think it is well past time to move on from Ward due to performance issues. We will have to start naming names soon if this doesn't get resolved soon. Okay, well,
And
that last part is his opinion, but
yeah,
there appears to be a lot of animosity between the president, the boosters, the regions, the AD, and now Harbaugh. It's it's amazing Harbaugh kept this team together to win the national championship this year with all of this going on.
well, I mean, what did he say? He said that all of it has brought the team together more.
Yep.
I mean, the players themselves might even know that their own athletic director doesn't really isn't really concerned about their head coach's success. In fact, he would probably rather Harbaugh start losing so that he could fire him.
Right.
Now, does this really all just come down to money? I mean, is
Oh,
it really
usually,
that?
yeah.
But that's so stupid.
Yeah.
Because, well, obviously it's stupid. But like think no, seriously, like the only reason, I mean, the NCAA probably hates Harbaugh because Harbaugh has been advocating for the players. Okay, Ward Manual also runs a business in that they need to churn a positive profit. And
Mhm.
there's the potential that if boosters start getting to the NIL, then they don't give the athletic department, as we just talked about. Is that really it? Like, is that the only reason this started, or did Harbaugh
I mean,
maybe beat him a little too badly at euchre one night? Like, what happened, guys? Come on.
yeah. I mean, that may be something we never really know, but I mean, those are. I mean, the impetus to these things tends to come down to power, fame, and money, or you know personal standing, social standing, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
if Harbaugh is a threat to the power, fame, and control of Ward Manuel and Jim Stapleton, or maybe, I mean, it could just be a personal vendetta. I mean, it could be that dumb. Um, but I mean, more often than not, it's money. I mean, that's
He
where you start. Follow the money and see where it goes, and that usually
yeah.
leads you to all the answers.
I mean, Ward could also just be still upset about what happened in 2020 if he wasn't really up for playing, and Schlissel was definitely not up for playing, and yet Harbaugh was fighting tooth and nail to get his players on the field.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's probably just money. I mean, it's probably that stupid. But
probably.
I think from Ward's perspective, he's at the point where he's like he either wants to he either wants to do his job well and not allow Harbaugh to threaten that, or he wants to take this 3-year payout and just say, "Look, I tried. Like, do whatever you want with Harbaugh, and that's fine, but don't blame me when the athletic department starts losing money." I think that's incredibly flawed because I don't know how you can play 15 games with all of those ticket sales, all of the TV money, all of the payouts and yada yada that they're getting from that, and still have a football department in the red at the end of the season. But if that's the case, then as from a business standpoint, Michigan's athletic department is extremely poorly ran.
Right.
So this might all come down to money for Ward and his job, frankly. He doesn't want to get fired or look like the bad guy. So he's willing to do what he needs to either make Harbaugh look like the bad guy for the fans, or Ward's just going to take his 3-year payout and get out of the way.
Right.
All right, I'm done.
And I think that's going to do it for this discussion. Let us know in the comments what you think about what we think and what you think about this whole situation. We want to hear from you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Mac, anything else you want to add?
I really hope it's not as stupid as the money, but whatever.
or whatever. All right. Thanks again for watching. Mac, take us out.
This is Conspiracy Time on the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show.